Coming into today, all these drivers are getting all set to go to compete at Australia's premier permanent road course, Phillip Island, a 2.7-mile thrill ride of a racetrack. Tonight should be a wild thrill ride for sure for the Sox Out Racing V8 SuperTrucks, live on RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live for tonight's action. But before that, let's go to your quick race recap for what happened in wine country, the Napa Valley for Sonoma Raceway this past week for the Sox Out Racing V8 SuperTrucks.
He waits, the green flag is out, and away we go for 25 laps around Sonoma. Picking through this time into turns number 1 and 2. Sideways there for Blix. He's held on to that one. That's going to affect him. Oh, and around goes Mullins. Mullins, will he touch the wall? Yes, he does. Have a look at what happened to Reniers then. You've got the 88 car, Sakovic going wide. Oh, and he got tagged from behind the 27. Lifted Cockerell. Left-hander, back end gets out there. Around he goes and tries to hold it. Well, goes for a bit of a scenic route. Michael Melrock and Daniel Thompson heading into turns 1 and 2. These two side by side into turn 2. Will they give each other room? Yes, they will. Just Sven Kemet. Eric Blitz coming out, not one behind him, and here comes Logan Clampett through into third place. But look at this battle for third place. Down the inside goes Blitz. Has he left his braking too late? The answer is yes, because here comes Clampett down the inside. Great move from Mogren down the inside. Is he going to have the pace coming out the corner? He's got the outside line into the hairpin. Hard onto the brakes once again. Capel, Mogren, Hayes is there. Hayes has lost control. He's around, but we'll stick with this battle because Mogren and Capel still side by side as they head into the S's once again. Through this section, look at that brilliant run from Mogren. Not able to make it count though, but it's going to be Bobby Zelensky 2 from 2 here in the Sox Out Racing V8 SuperTruck Series.
That was definitely an exciting race last week, but this week could see just as much action, if not more, here at the Phillip Island Circuit for the Sox Out Racing V8 SuperTrucks Championship here on RaceSpot TV and on iRacing Live. Good evening, I'm Justin Prince. Alongside me in the booth tonight is Paul Smith. We'll also be directing tonight's action on this thrilling permanent road course, one of the top premier racetracks in all of Australia. Coming into round number 3, we've seen some interesting action at Interlagos and at Sonoma. Right now, with these drivers coming into today, they're going to have one goal in mind to try and get into victory lane as part of this 12-round season. It should be entertaining, that's for sure, tonight. Here in Cowes, Australia, about 90 miles, give or take, southeast is Phillip Island from Melbourne, Australia, as these drivers are going to be all dialed in. But first things first, let's take a look at your Drivers' Championship coming into tonight for Phillip Island Circuit. Bobby Zelensky has been dominating from the get-go with 2 wins to start off the season, 210 points for him, as Sven Kammert also is in second spot, 5 points apart from his teammate and Marco Mogren. Both of them are doing very well for today in practice and in qualifying. We'll get to that in just a bit. Wade Hayes is in 4th, as in the 5th spot right now is Justin Krutoff. Following behind them, you see a lot of considerable drivers in this group. Logan Clampett, one of the notables, and a lot of drivers in the middle portions of the standings for sure, wanting to improve from their early on runs. As right now, still a long ways to go. But of course, it also comes down to teamwork in some cases, leading to the team championship standings for tonight. There has been some strong runs from different teams. Very strong run from Kinetic, Radical, Collab. The collaboration between Radicals Online and Kinetic Racing, they're on top. Slip Angle Motorsports is in second. Off-camber Motorsports follows them. Workable Kinetic Racing's in fourth. And in the fifth spot, Torque Freak Racing Blanchimont. Behind them is Team Bushfink Racing, Team Mad. Lempels Racing, Team Mad 2, and Torque Freak Racing's Corkscrew Squad. Round out your top 10. Atlas SimSport, Beast Racing, Smith eSports, Race Clutch, and AOD Racing finish off your top 15 for the team standings coming into today. Of course, that's not the only standings to look at as well. Coming into today, you have two different other standings that keep track: the road versus oval standings and the manufacturer stand. Let's start things off, of course, with the road versus oval stand. Of course, the road versus oval standings, it's currently a 100 to 84 points for the road side. Oval side has 176 heading into tonight's action. Of course, it is a cumulative total in terms of how those points are calculated. Same with the manufacturers, averaging the top 3 driver race totals for each manufacturer for that side. For the road and oval, it's for their disciplines. When it comes to the manufacturer standings, meanwhile, it's currently on top for the time being. Chevrolet, 185 points. Toyota has 176. So a lot of things to look at for the point standings, especially with the action going on here tonight for Phillip Island for the Sox Out Racing V8 SuperTrucks, that's for sure, Paul.
Yeah, it certainly is. Good evening, everybody. It's going to be an interesting event, is this one. Certainly the Sox Out Racing always produces great racing, and last year we saw tremendous racing around here at Phillip Island in Australia, and I'm sure that tonight we'll be able to see some more incredible action. Conditions on track, well, it's a rather cool air temperature, but that track temperature, 98 degrees Fahrenheit on track, so it's going to work those tyres really hard. But well, next up, it's let's have a look at the qualifying standings.
Yeah, the qualifying standing just wrapping on up for this one. Let's take a look at your starting grid for tonight's action. Bobby Zelensky, he will start off on the pole once again, as the California driver will start alongside the Swede and Marco Mogren. Behind them is Sven Kamertz, and behind him is Eric Blext, from Sweden as well. Justin Krutov is also behind them in row number 3. Daniel Thompson is in 6th spot. Wade Hayes and Martin Kapal are behind them in 7th and 8th spots, while just out in the top 10 right now is Bram Reniers, as well as Malik Sakulich. Dingo Melgro as behind them, along with David Crozier in 11th and the 12th spots. 13th and 14th spots is currently Josh Mertz and Logan Clampett, and in the back right now is Clifton Cockrell, as there are, of course, a couple penalties to keep note of going into this with that in terms of this safe driver system. Clifton Cockrell was prohibited from qualifying for tonight's event, so he has to start the back. The other 2 drivers that did have those similar penalties are not in the grid for tonight. 15 drivers all set to take the field tonight. As you said, should expect a lot of intense action, but the track temp could mean these tires burn out quicker than some drivers may want in terms of the driving styles tonight.
Yeah, certainly it's going to be a tough old race here today. And it's 23 laps around this circuit. It's a tricky circuit. It's got some high-speed corners. You also got a couple of hairpins as well. And these trucks, they take a bit of slowing down as well. Not the best brakes on these, so long braking zones means you've got plenty of action and plenty of opportunity to outbrake the truck in front of you. I did this all last broadcast as well, by the way, Justin. But yeah, it's great to see these drivers out here today. Okay, not the biggest grid here, but the quality on show. I mean, Bobby Zalenski, Marco Mogren, I mean, they were covered by less than a tenth of a second, and Sven Kemet as well was pretty close on qualifying. So the front four, actually, with Eric Blixt as well, covered by 0.2 of a second. That's pretty close, and it's all going to be down to who looks after their tyres the best around here.
That is for sure. Trying to make sure you not just have the best lines, but of course maintain consistency and try and conserve the tires if you're not in a major battle. That's for sure. Of course, Mogren and Kemertz were both at the top, near the top of the practice boards for both the open practice coming in as well as the final practice before qualifying. They definitely have some quick pace. They, of course, are a dominant team, but right now, in your opinion, what will it take to get by Bobby Zalenski to try and pull away to try and prevent him to go 3 for 3 to start off the season?
I think really it's all about the start here. And because Bobby has been able to get away from the start. He started on pole every race, and he's been able to pull away from everybody. If somebody, especially Marco Mogren, can get in front of him before the start of this race, then they can control the pace of this race. They can bring other people into it, put the pressure on Bobby that he's not felt for those first 2 rounds of this championship, and before you know it, anything can happen. A little bit of rubbing. We see a little bit of rubbing every now and again, but that's part of the nature of these trucks. And coming down to MG corner, just a couple more corners to go to the start here.
Couple more corners good to go. Should be some intense action for sure. If you want to follow your favorite driver on board, 6 drivers have those cameras tonight. Go to Sox Out Racing's website to find out more on that. But the pace car is off, heading towards pit lane. Coming out of turn number 12, as here we go, just moments away from the start, as they head towards the Gardner Straight. Gonna get all winded out, all 15 cars getting all set to go, passing underneath the Melbourne Bridge. Green flag set at the flag stand. We're underway for round number 3 from Phillip Island Circuit.
It's not the start that Mogren would have wanted. Zalenski's out in front, and it's a battle between the 257 and the 66 into turn number 1. We've got trucks on the grass further back. I believe Logan Clampett is one of them that's involved in that.
3 more cars, in fact, trucks I should say, going out into the grass. 4 in fact, Mertz involved, Clampett zooms on by. Capel was one of those, and Sven Kemertz was one of those drivers as well that went wide through turn number 2 and 3 to start things off, so they drop all the way to the back.
Yep, dramatic scenes at the start here. We'll try and get a look at that in a moment's time, but these trucks, difficult to handle. It's a tricky first corner, but Bobby Zalenski at the front has pulled away just about almost a second now between him and Marco Mogren. Eric Blixt is in 3rd place, Justin Krutov 4th, but coming under pressure from Daniel Thompson behind.
Yeah, Daniel Thompson trying to get things all set up and coiled on, going through the circuit as they head themselves toward past Lukey Heights, coming into tight turn number 10, getting all accordion on up. They'll zoom on out through 11 and 12 and head towards the Gardner Straight once again, as Thompson trying to peek his way underneath for the pass. Going to have to try and set this one up, heading through the Doohan corner all the way to the southern loop. He does not get the speed he needs to get, though, as it's going to be lap number 1 led by Bobby Zalenski, meanwhile, after this one, as this has already been off to a 0.7 of a second lead start over Marco Mogren to start off. Eric Blixt also in 3rd spot, as you mentioned, so he's having a strong run, as right now 4th all the way to 7th, getting all accordion on up, going through the southern loop and heading towards the Stoner corner.
Yep, great racing between these trucks as they're heading down towards Honda. The hairpin, get onto the brakes, really hard braking zone, so easy to lose your braking there, to lock up a wheel, but everybody able to get out of there. It's all about the traction coming out that corner. Daniel Thompson, though, putting the pressure on that truck in front, Justin Krutov. and 0.3 of a second cover those two. But you look behind, Thompson is under pressure from Wade Hayes as well, but Thompson looks really strong through this section here, and it's the second half of the lap where Thompson seems to just have that little edge over the truck in front.
Yeah, that is for sure, but you have to position yourself at the perfect time. Meanwhile, look at who's moving through the field. That number 44 truck in Logan Clampett did not record a qualifying time. He's trying to move on up, as well as some of the drivers who went off track. One of those, of course, is Ben Temmerts, who has now moved himself back into the top 10 for the time being with Clampett. Clampett following on along him. He's in 10th spot, coming off a third place finish at Sonoma Raceway.
Yeah, he's having to come from the back here. He's a late entrant into this event, so had to start from the back, and he's working his way through this field already, showing his ability. Up in front, though, it's still that battle for fourth place. Justin Krutoff and Daniel Thompson down the inside into two. Opportunistic move, but if he runs wide here, Krutoff can get the run out this corner down towards Honda, but not able to get that done. So Krutoff down a place, Thompson up into fourth, but they've dropped back here 2 seconds behind third place Eric Blixt.
Yeah, falling on back for the time being. It's going to take some time, of course, to move themselves back forward. Meanwhile, you can see Krutoff having to hold off a few different drivers right now. As you see, trying to make some poking moves is for the fourth possible force ball. That is Wade Hayes trying to get underneath the nose of him. He falls back as they go back to single file racing. Krutoff's going to have to try and wind things off back. Meanwhile, up in the front, Bobby Zelensky, he's got a little friend right now following him, as Marco Mogren has kept up his pace from practice and from qualifying. He is still within about that half second to 0.7 of a second range, up in the second spot, trying to get a move as they have pulled away big time from Eric Blixt.
Yeah, really good, well, working together. It seems Marco Mogren sticking in that draft behind and working to try and pull forward from Zelensky, from that pack behind, should I say. Zelensky and Mogren, and across the line they go once again. Mogren was slightly faster on that last lap as well, by about 1.5 tenths. So Zelensky, he's not running away with this one. This should be a really intriguing race here at the front between the two leaders.
It should be very intriguing, especially as the race goes on, of course, tonight. It is a fairly decent length of a race, about 23 laps for tonight. You do have to take the mandatory pit stop, of course, for 4 tires. You can make it on fuel, but Bobby Zelensky just about opened up the door because he took the corner wide, as Mogren couldn't take advantage. And he is really trying to be aggressive here, trying to position up the pass after seeing the mistake from Zelensky. They're going to stay single file for now, but Mogren had a chance for at least the moment. Couldn't capitalize, though, to take the pass, as you see him getting very quick down some of these faster straightaway sections right now.
Yeah, Mogren doing a fantastic job, and it looks like he's got a little bit of an edge because Zelensky's going defensive into the hairpin there at MG, and Mogren, he looks to have the quicker truck here. It's not all going Bobby Zelensky's way, and this is showing that Radicals liveried car, the 257, really doing a good job here and really working to get this job done, but well, it's a long way to go in this race yet in that Kinetic Radical collab. So we're only on to lap 5 of this race. 23 laps. It's a long race for these trucks and these tyres.
Long race, of course, the pit window opening up around lap 6 for the mandatory 4-tire pit stop. That window will be open all the way until lap number 20. That's something to keep in mind as we are on lap number 5 of this event. As you see up on your top 15 standings, Zelensky and Mogren are currently running 1-2 right now. Blixt is in 3rd, 4th spot. Daniel Thompson, he got that pass to get the 4th, as we talked about before, as Justin Krutoff is still in the 5th spot. Wade Hayes, Bram Reniers, pardon me, is still in 7th. Diogo Melgro is in the 8th spot. Sven Kamertz is there, and there is the 2nd place car getting very loose to the corner. Yeah, that was just getting a bit sideways there. It took a little bit too much speed into that corner, and Mogren really pushing hard. He's really trying his best
to work this one through. But the problem is, if he works those tyres too much, and it's mainly the rear tyres here that will take the brute force of that motor, that V8 motor in that Toyota Tundra truck. And with these hot conditions, he doesn't want to work them too much, because if he puts too much heat into them, the grip just goes away, the truck slides around even more, and it just exacerbates. It gets worse and worse, does that grip level. Look at Clampett, by the way. He's getting up to the back of this train of trucks now. He's in 10th place, but he's on the back as Sven Kemets, Diogo Melro, Bram Reniers, Wade Hayes, Justin Krutov, and Daniel Thompson. That's 4th to 10th all together on track.
With that grouping, you see Clampett just has a little bit of breathing room for now, but of course, wanting to catch up to that. The 66 as well, wanting to maybe catch up.
Oh, Clampett losing control at the back there. He's really struggling for grip. Coming out of turn number 2. Sorry to cut you off there, Justin, but he got a slide on there, and that meant that he's dropped back from the back of this pack by a good 3/4 of a second now.
Yeah, that's what happens with, of course, with these trucks and with.
Oh, we've got a truck off.
Yeah, that truck off is Daniel Thompson, in fact. He was up in 4th spot, so he drops all the way back to 9th spot. As we're going to check on the Race Spot TV replay for this. Drivers in trucks really just trying to slide around. That time, way too hot on the corner. The off-camber motorsports truck says hello grass. Cars zoom on by, trucks zoom on by, I should say, on the right side. He falls all the way back to 9th. Clampett has moved by him, but Clampett really is bobbling around. Just barely able to keep it stable, and as Thompson has to let off the gas to not run into the back of him.
Yeah, Clampett getting loose here. I maybe think that he's just been working his tyres a little bit too much too early, and he's struggling now. He's just starting to feel those tyres go off a little bit, and as they're heading down across the line once again, those two have just dropped back from that group that they were battling with. Okay, Daniel Thompson went hot into Honda corner, but he's now at the back here, and he'll be hoping that Logan Clampett doesn't hold him up here, because he'll want to get onto the back of Sven Kemets and the rest of that gaggle of cars.
Yeah, that gaggle of cars you talked about is now 4th all the way up to about 8th spot that you're seeing up on your screen. Wade Hayes is right now in the 5th spot, as he's right now in the best position to try and get a pass in that gaggle of cars. That is in front of Bram Laniers, right up in front of him. As they stay all single file, stayed accordion on up. Hayes is being patient, gets a bit of luck because Krutov goes a bit wide, as they are going to go just about double file, in fact double file. But Hayes not in the preferred line. That's going to open up the door easily for Reniers, and Reniers is going to go side by side, gets a little love tap in fact on the right side of his truck, so he decides to go back to single file after that and goes wide in fact. Almost into the sand. He's going to lose all kinds of ground. Clampett zooms on by. Thompson zooms on by. As Capel is also going to zoom on by. Let's check out the replay, as it was bumping and banging just before Reniers went wide.
Yeah, he's given that little bit. He's got offline there. He's got onto the dirty part of the circuit and goes off onto the grass there. He'll picked up of all manner of dirt and detritus on the tyres there, so he's dropped back now down to 11th place as Bram. Not ideal for the top trick driver, but he'll be just absolutely gutted at his own mistake there.
That's for sure. Carlin coming into today 8th in the standings, has 1 top 10 coming into tonight. He's going to have a lot of time still to try and recover his course. We're on lap number 8 of this 23-lap race. Of course, now on your screen, you're seeing the focus being set towards that still gaggle of cars. Moving to the field since going wide at the start is that 66. He gets an error, bit of luck, but hold on 1 second. That is Thompson again, in fact, going wide. Second time, really, that's happened to Thompson in just about as many laps for him. Let's check out the replay for this. As you see, this was an issue we've seen at the start where a couple different trucks did this. Just way too much speed once again, as he zooms on, multiple trucks zoom on by. Reniers almost did the same thing through Honda corner or just a few moments ago afterwards too. So I think this track's really starting to slicken on up for these tires.
Yeah, it's really struggling. I mean, you look at the lap times. Bobby Zalenski's best lap was a 34.5. His last lap was a 36.0. That just shows you how much that these tyres are dropping off and how much this track is just slowing up here. I mean, we'll compare the top two here and have a look at their lap gaps here. And you just look at those lap times there as I go across the line once again. Lap number 8, 36.119. Mogren slightly faster on that last lap, so that gap is still half a second between the front two runners. But these two, I think it's going to be all down to the pit stops. When do you make your first pit stop? Because you don't want to go too early here, Justin, because we've seen how much these drivers are dropping off pace so quickly at this point in the race.
Yeah, you got to think about that, that's for sure. You don't want to pit too early and then have worn out tires for the end of the event, but you also don't want to stretch it out too far to where you will lose a ton of time in terms of delta. Yes, you'll have a faster truck in terms of the pace because of the tires, but then it's just about coming down to the proper strategy. I think it's going to come down to what the leaders do here. Here's the lap times, by the way, for what's going on for the fourth on back group. You see that those times are really bunched up right now. They are currently about 10 seconds back of the leaders right now, as Krutov still leading that group with Hayes, Melrose, Cameron, as well as Logan Clampett, who has joined the back of that train as part of that group. Fourth all the way up to 8th in a 5-truck train. But Krutov has been really playing a bit dangerously in terms of his lines. In fact, bit dangerous line for Wade Hayes. He's going to cut towards the course through the grass. Has to back off things and has to let drivers on by, almost causing a collision. Kamert's able to zoom on by with Clampett as they almost went both around. So a huge mistake from Wade Hayes.
Yeah, and it's all through Lukey Heights there. Got it wide once again. Did the right thing though. Got on the brakes because it's so easy to just wipe out and T-bone the drivers coming into that hairpin. Did a good job. Kept it clean. Sven Kamertz is into the pit lane.
And this is your first pit stop, in fact. As we said, the pit window's been open since about lap number 6. So he's going to come in for his 4-tire stop. Should be about an average 13 seconds in the pit stall. Well, as you see the jacks going on up, getting all set to go. We'll have to see how the delta goes and how things go towards the end of the race. Trying to maybe get a strategy move to move himself up with the earliestness of this. 14.4 is the time for the stop. Off and away out of the pit lane as he has the very tight pit exit, of course, to negotiate. You see the pit lane completely empty. He drops all the way back to 13 for the time being, where David Crozier and Josh Mertz have been basically back towards for much of the day, as this battle's still going on for 4th and 5th.
Certainly is. These two, they're inseparable. They can't get away from each other. Krutov and Melrose battling it out through Lukey Heights once again. Up and over the hill, now downhill. Really tricky braking zone. And Melrose missed his braking there. He's locked up. That's open the door there for Clampett. They're going to go side by side through the penultimate corner. And contact. Around goes Clampett as your leader, Bobby Zalenski, comes into the pits as well. But drama there for Clampett. Unbelievable. He can't get it back straight here. Now finally gets it on the road. But we'll have to take a look at the replay on that one, because that was just, that was all through Melrose's mistake. Going into the hairpin, he locked up, ran it wide. Clampett said, thank you very much, I'll go down the inside here. But then Melrose just wiggling about, and the rear of that truck was loose, and it sent him into the side of Clampett, and Clampett has got to do all that work again.
Unbelievable there. That's exactly what it looked like happening there, of course. With the 84 truck really having to lock it up so he didn't run into the back of the truck in front of him, and the leader's off.
So he's just been into the pits there. It's a 14.3 second pit stop, as you can see on the screen. But the crucial thing is, he's gone wide out the pit exit. That's going to be crucial. And, well, Marco Mogren, where is he? He's coming through to Lukey Heights now. You would imagine that he's going to pit this time by, maybe go one lap longer, but surely there'll be somebody from his team telling him Zalenski's just been off out the pits.
This is just absolutely unbelievable. Zalenski might lose all the time he had because they were about the exact same pace with him and Molgren for much of that run. Now it's going to be absolutely interesting to see how things are by the end of this one. If that mistake, as he's going to go on and pit, as he zooms on in. This will be the 5th truck to come on in, as a few different trucks have gone in. Zelensky, Kemmerts, Wade Hayes, Crozier has not gone in. Mertz has gone in meanwhile, though. So you see him coming in.
Oh, there's a cute. I think we've got a pit party here because Blixt is in. Melrose has stayed out, actually. Krutov, Kapal, Reniers. Oh, they're all coming in. Thompson, Clampett, and I would imagine Sekovic as well. Yep, we've got a pit party here.
With the way the track has been going and the way these trucks have been really bobbling around and getting loose with the track temps, not surprised here. This is just about everybody else.
Where's Zelensky? He's coming down the pit straight now. Mogren, if he could keep it on the track, he's going to take the lead effectively.
And I think he just did. He just, in fact, did. He's up in front. Mogren's up in front of him by about 2.4 seconds is where the delta settles on down. So that one mistake from Zelensky on the pit exit has given Mogren the lead as he is off and away. Remember, on fresh tires, he was about 0.3 faster despite being behind of Zelensky and trying to get it on by. So has to make sure he does not make any mistakes here, as Diogo Melro is currently one of 2 trucks not to go in right now. The other truck is currently David Crozier. You see that 84 on your screen. Should expect him to come on in.
You would imagine that it'd come in. I think this is just a ploy for them to get on the stream, so let's take them off screen then. That's drama. That's absolute drama and great stuff. But this just to show the pressure that was on Bobby Zelensky there made that one mistake, and look at him now. He's got Eric Blixt behind him, putting the pressure on now.
Yeah, and he was about 2, 3, 4 seconds behind of those two, Zelensky and Mogren, for much of that run too. So now Blixt might be able to get himself a second place spot if he can keep up with the pace of Zelensky here, as you see them heading towards the straightaway past the pit stalls as they continue to zoom up by. Melro has not come in for the time being, so that is something to watch for. He's only got a 13-second gap and should lose the lead once it gets things going. So for right now, this is your battle for tentative lead P number 2 on the track. As you see Zelensky trying to go and arc it on in for the exit. Blixt is just going to keep it on the bottom towards the rumble strips as they are very close down the straight, 0.3 back. And right now, this is action that is currently good indeed. We're going to go side by side, though, for the next minute or so as you're watching the Socks Off Racing V8 Super Trucks Championship from the Phillip Island Circuit on RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live.
Fuel usage.
Averaging 0.10 gallons per lap.
Pit stop, add 5 gallons. Change right side only.
Hitbox in 10, 9, 8, 1. Bingo. 10-4, adding 5 gallons. Changing right side tires.
Welcome back, everyone, to Phillip Island Circuit for more coverage of the Socks Off Racing V8 Super Trucks Championship here on RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live. It's definitely been some intense racing. Final pit stops have been called out and done on the racetrack. So now Marco Mogren has now secured himself that lead.
Josh Mertz has been off at Siberia Corner. The man from Florida, he's not been having a good day of it today. He's got back up and running though. Let's see if we can try and get a replay, find out what happened there for him. It was into Siberia Corner, and just the back end just did not want to comply. Goes around, loses control, and he just about keeps out the wall, does he? No, he just makes contact. So not the best of day for just Josh Mertz here. Battle Bram Reniers though. Little issues. He's got damage on the front as well as Bram. He's dropped down now behind Melro and Clampett.
Yeah, he went a bit wide through that Honda corner, so he drops a couple different spots. Remember, some of that damage is from the bumping and banging from a few laps to go, as we are still about 10 laps to go in this one. Meanwhile, as you see, he's just trying to hang on to where he's at, about that 8th spot right now, 10th spot, pardon me, as he was in the 8th spot for the time being. Meanwhile, Logan Clampett, he's going to be near the back door, in fact, of Melro, as he almost got into the back of him for a split second. As right now you see them racing very close on the racetrack, that's for sure. As now going to back on off. Meanwhile, some more trouble for Wade Hayes. He had a little bit of issues going out wide a few laps to go before pit stops. He drops back to 7th spot now, as he's definitely having a big time wiggle.
Yep. Had a little bit of a party on the grass of the exit, the penultimate corner, and he's carried on wiggling all the way through the rest of these corners now. He's been on these tyres 5 laps, so he's a little bit longer than everybody else here. I'd say the person who's in the best position at the moment is Melro. He's only on the 2nd lap of his stint here. He went longer on that first stint. Don't know whether it quite worked out for him, with him being a little bit slower on those older tyres to start with. But this battle here, 5th, 6th and 7th ongoing at the moment, and these two, they certainly are just giving it a good go. They're trying the hardest, and I tell you what, Kapal getting the run there out the corner on Justin Krutov.
Yeah, Krutov has just had no time to breathe all night long so far, because every time it seems he has to look in his back mirror, there's a truck there trying to battle for position. Before it was battling for P4, now this is for P5, as Kapal is going to be on his doorstep. Had to let off a little bit here as they are still winding up. Wade Hayes, of course, back in that grouping now as they zoom on by. Of course, Marco Malgren has just absolutely pulled away from the rest of these drivers now, up to 4 seconds, in fact, over Bobby Zelensky. He had the faster pace for qualifying, faster pace for practice, faster pace behind Zelensky. Now he's absolutely pulled away to that 4 seconds. Eric Blix is not letting up on Zelensky either, trying to get for the 2nd spot. Kamertz has recovered to the 4th spot meanwhile. 5th is Krutov. Kapal, Hayes, Melro rounds out your top 8 right now here on Race Spot TV and on iRacing Live. Heading towards that 7 laps to go mark. 16 of 23 laps complete here for tonight's action.
Yeah, they're on the way through, just halfway around this lap now, and it's interesting battles. You've got the battle here for 5th place, Justin Krutov, Martin Kapal, Wade Hayes. Bobby Zelensky hasn't been able to drop Eric Blix either, and you've got battles further down as well. Melro and Clampett, they seem to be stuck together, basically doing the best impression of those little burrs that you get in your pet's fur when they go through for a walk through a load of bushes and that collect to them. So they're sticking together like those, like Velcro, and certainly interesting to see these battles develop as we go into the final part, this closing part of this race. But these drivers now, this is where they're really going to struggle for the end of this one. They're going to be just trying their best to, just try to get these tyres to the end, because these tyres will be screaming. They'll be wanting no more going, and unfortunately, they've still got quite a bit of running to go yet.
Still quite a ways to go, of course, on this circuit as we cross by the start finish line. We'd like to remind you, of course, that there's the I Analyze Racing Hard Charger Award. Who do you feel is the most exciting driver right now? Mention that in the comments right now, here for Race Spot TV and for iRacing Live. Of course, that is a noteworthy award to pay attention to as well as the race goes on. As right now, a few different drivers for sure that could fall into that category, but right now Krutov, he's going to have to try and hold on to the 5th spot as Kapal almost got underneath them due to a bobble and a wheel lock. from Krutov. He's now going to pull away, though, out of the Honda corner. Kapal loses a bit of ground for the time being. Hayes just going to stay on his back door as Melrose and Clampett. Those birds you were talking about a few moments ago, well, there's going to be a lot more birds because they were just about locked bumper to bumper through that same section.
Yeah, you can't separate them. They're absolutely fantastic. Here they are on screen, and Clampett's down the inside of Melrose. Melrose taking that defensive line. He's trying his best to hold on to that position, doing a good job. New to the series, a little bit of contact, and you have to say that's a little bit of payback, I would think, from Clampett after what happened to them earlier. And Melrose drops behind now, down to 9th place. Clampett into that 8th place.
Yeah, a few different times in that sequence of turns, Melrose had really gotten loose, especially in that turn number 11, which led to him losing the spot there. Truck was really starting to hook around on the bottom. Now, as you said, falling back to 9th spot, Logan Clampett moving up to the 8th spot right now. As you see, still that 5th, 6th, 7th place battle is still heating up. The Clampett is trying to catch right on up to that grouping right now. You can see them still a whiles away to go here, though. 6 laps to go, 5 next time by.
These drivers, they're putting on a great display for us today. On board with Kapal, you can see him working the wheel there, really struggling with that rear end when he gets the power down. Got to be so careful with the application of the throttle. There it goes again. It's wanted to just dart away from him, and that's allowed Krutov to just pull away slightly as they're coming in towards Lukey Heights. You can see that wheel, it's really turning hard. He's doing a lot of work trying to keep that truck in as straight a line as possible. Heading down to MG corner once again. Really tricky hairpin. Like I said, it's easy to lock up your brakes, as we saw Melrose do earlier in the race here. And these two battling away, 5th and 6th place. They've certainly got to try and do something special now. Kapal has been stuck behind Krutov for quite a while here. He needs to do something different, or he's just going to stay in that position. It's Clampett now battling away with Wade Hayes.
And this battle starting to heat on up. This is for on your screen 7th spot, as Hayes has just about a 0.3 of a second gap over Clampett. Clampett, of course, has been moving and moving quick since getting by that 84 truck in Melrose. In fact, Hayes, wider entry, wider exit, back, and really starting to wobble out. As here comes Clampett, uses the draft, trying to position himself underneath for Honda corner. Gonna go onto the high side, though. Can he outdrive him, outbrake him here? Can he make it stick as well? This will be a tight maneuver for Clampett. Sticking side by side. And now, trying to go through one more time. Clampett should secure the position. Does so, in fact, as he zooms on by, moves up to 7th spot. As Clampett's really starting to pick up the pace right now. Previously, last time by, he was faster than the leaders, in fact, by about just under 0.2 of a second.
Yep, he's certainly got the pace, and remember, he was battling with Melrose as well in that last lap, so he's really got the bit between his teeth here. Marco Mogren, just to mention, 4.8 seconds ahead of Bobby Zelensky.
Pardon me for cutting you off there. You might have seen there's an Air Trucks. I think that's Josh Mertz, and I think his day just went to absolute disappointment for his end, because he, as you've seen, was stopped there on the side. He's been at the back of the field all day long, at the 15th spot. The Florida driver trying to do as best as he can. This has sent him off to pit road. You've seen the one spin before, and then this one, where trying to zoom his way through the intersections, heading towards where this happened, right about here.
Yeah.
Locks it up, hooks the back end, spins it on around, does a 360, tries to get it off the racetrack, has to back it on off to try and turn it around, and has to wait for every single lead lap car to go by.
Yeah, and he went into the barrier as well with that one. I think that's his day done here. And yeah, it's not been a good day for Josh at all. And he's really struggled. 4 to go here. And Krutov ahead of, who's that? That's Kapal, who's ahead of still. But look at that menacing car in the background there. Logan Clampett is getting with them, and we've also got some side-by-side action further back. Daniel Thompson and Melrose battling it out as they go through Lukey Heights. Melrose coming under some serious pressure here from Thompson.
That 84 truck is really struggling handling-wise, really bobbling, and he gets bumped in the back. That is Daniel Thompson that bumps him in the behind on the right rear quarter panel. The 84 truck's back and going, loses a few spots and a lot of time from that. Thompson doesn't appear to have damage from that, but going to definitely have to check out the replay from this, as that was a huge one. Still a few laps to go. Take a look at this, where try to go for the defensive line, the 84 truck. Thompson was getting all set to go, and then probably wasn't expecting not the slower exit that Melrose was having there to try and make sure it didn't bobble on the exit. Sends him around for the 360.
Yep, Lure drops him down from 9th to 11th now for Melrose. He's battling away with Clifton Cockrell. But further forward, Kapal and Clampett side by side, and Kapal is into the weeds, he's into the dirt. Is he going to keep control of this truck? If he does, that'll be amazing. Yes, he does. He got it stopped for the hairpin. Hats off to you, sir. That's great driving from him.
Great driving to keep it off from the tire barriers and off into the weeds even more so. Lost a spot, was side by side with Clampett, as Clampett's off and running into the 6th spot, as Krutov is the next car in front of him, coming towards 2 laps to go this time by for the leaders. Meanwhile, as Mogren has absolutely just taken off from here on out. Currently in 2nd spot though, Zelensky, he's had Blixt as a person in the middle of his mirror all for the entire second half of this run. Blixt has not given up in terms of pace. Lap times for them, currently Zelensky last time by about 2/10 quicker, but Blixt still able to keep up in the middle sections of the track to stay about that half a second back. Has to maybe do something a little aggressive here to try and get himself positioned properly for a pass without getting into Zelensky.
Yeah, it's going to be really close, and crucial thing to make note as well. Oh, sorry, go on.
I'm sorry, because a truck just went around in front of the leaders, and that was David Crozier, as they have to dodge the trucks. In fact, that opens up the door for Blixt. Blixt is trying to go inside, has to go back to single file, but he just got a little bit of help because Zelensky had to let off to avoid that. Mogren also had a big time scare with that, but all the lead trucks are still off and safe. They are off by about 18 seconds ahead from 4th spot at this point, as now Blixt will try and go for the spot, heading past the final few sections of this track. Still about a lap, quarter of a 1 1/4 lap to go in this one. Blixt getting some luck. Zelensky took the exit wide on that time. Gonna keep it towards the bottom. Might have to use the draft to plan things out. White flag up at the flag stand for Mogren, as Zelensky and Blixt are going to go battling, heading towards the final straight, the Gardner Straight, heading towards the final lap here at the Phillip Island Circuit, here for the Socked Off Racing V8 SuperTrucks Championship. Blixt trying to position himself up the best way he can, heading towards the Southern Loop. Goes for a huge run into the Southern Loop. Has to back off, though, to make sure he doesn't lose the speed and the control up at the back door of Zelensky, as he has to let off.
Great racing. Absolutely great racing from these two. This is what we want to see all season long. And Blixt is giving it as good as he could get. 1 lap less on these tyres, but it's certainly showing it as we go into the end here.
About a half a track to go for the top 3 right now, as these 3 have absolutely pulled away and have been the top of the class. Eric Blixt trying to get a decent run, going to head towards the Lukey Heights, as they are going to go still single file, going through that quick right, going towards turn number 9 and into turn number 10. Blixt might have to do a bit of outbraking here. This is one of the final passing zones on the track. Blixt has the defensive line for Zelensky. He's going to try and diamond it into the corner. Zielinski still keeps it up in front, and Zielinski might have enough time to keep it up for second spot. For Marco Mogren, able to take advantage, had the fastest truck in practice, had the fastest truck in qualifying, had some of the fastest lap times in the race, and he comes away with his first victory of the 2018 season here at Phillip Island Circuit. Second, Zielinski, third, Blixt. Tried to get there to the start and finish. A few trucks had to dodge for a split second, but huge effort. Everyone crosses by the start finish line. Clifton Cockrell ends up with the 12th spot. 84 truck ends up just outside the top 10 for him, so he had some back luck for sure with the end second stints for him. But for these drivers, definitely some intense action here at the Phillip Island Circuit. As now, just a few moments away, of course, from taking a quick break for this one here on RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live. A very intense action as we'll check out your unofficial race results. Marco Mogren had the fastest practice, qualifying, and race times basically in terms of the pace all day long. Did not have the fastest time overall, I should point out, of course. That was, of course, Zielinski who finished second, but one mistake on his pit exit really separated himself by about 2.5 seconds. Mogren over Zielinski. Blixt in third, with Sven Kamertz able to recover and get to fourth spot, as he ended up going off track on the first lap in the first corners through the southern loop. Justin Krutov finishes off in the top 5. He was in battle after battle after battle to hold on to his positions. Logan Clampett, he had to save himself from hitting the wall before the start-finish line, finished off in 6th still. Martin Capel finished off in 7th. Wade Hayes, Daniel Thompson, and Bram Reniers round off your top 10 for this one. Just outside the top 10, it was Diego Melro, who will definitely have a day to forget for him in that Team Mad truck. The 84 finishes off 11. Clifton Cockrell finished off in 12. Few different drivers were very quiet today for sure, as Magic Sakowick finished off in 13th. David Crozier and Josh Mertz rounded out your field for today. Mertz did not finish, one lap down for Crozier after losing control near where the leaders were on track. But with that, we'll take a quick commercial break, have your post-race interviews and more here on RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live in just a few moments for the Socks Off Racing V8 SuperTrucks Championship, as this was an exciting round number 3, that's for sure.
Fuel usage.
Averaging 0.10 gallons per lap.
Pit stop, add 5 gallons. Change right side only.
Hitbox in 10, 9, 8, 1. Bingo. 10-4, adding 5 gallons, changing right side tires.
Once again, photo finish here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Will it be Tim Hogan? It's going to be Christopher DeMerrick at the line.
Welcome back, everyone, to RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live's coverage of the Sox Out Racing V8 SuperTrucks Championship from the Phillip Island circuit. It was definitely an exciting race, but in the end, Marco Mogren ended up pulling away from the person that had won the 2 straight races before this in Bobby Zalenski after pit stops. After one mistake from Zalenski on the pit stop exits, able to pull away to a 4.1 second victory for tonight's event. That is for sure. Justin Prince alongside Paul Smith here in the broadcast booth after some intense action, as now it's time for your post-race coverage and interviews here for this one. Why don't we start with your race winner for tonight's action, and Marco Mogren, as he joins us now in the broadcast booth after coming out on top. Had a very fast pace for his truck for much of the day, for qualifying, for practice, and for the race. How are you feeling after coming out on top for your first victory of the season?
Ecstatic. Feels great to actually get a win in.
Yeah, you definitely had a very strong truck, that's for sure. What did you do with the setup to try and make sure you had the pace, to try and make sure you had the speed to keep up and potentially, of course, get by Zalenski for any pass opportunities for this one?
Well, quite a lot of setup work got into the car for this race. It's a very slick track, so the car really slid around a lot. But me, Sven and Wade worked very well together and got a very solid car. I think the main thing was that the tires didn't drop off at all, or as little as it can on this car, and that really paid dividends.
Yeah, that is for sure. At times, of course, during the first part of the race, before the pit stops, you had a 0.3 at times pace faster than Zalenski. I want to ask this: did you know about what happened with Zalenski with the pit exit, and when you did find out, what was your first thought when that happened?
Yeah, coming into pits, I knew that the overcut doesn't work, so I was expecting Bobby to be ahead by a few seconds, like 1 or 2 seconds. That's what you lose by going in a lap later. But coming out and seeing him behind me, I knew he had hit some trouble, but I didn't know what. But luckily, I just kept my head down and tried to pull away.
And pull away you did, that's for sure. When it came out of the pits, it was 2.4 seconds, of course. Finished off with a 4.1 second gap. Now, before we let you go, is there anyone you want to thank for being a part of your victory today?
Well, my teammates, Sven and Wade, for working with me on the setup. Our sponsors, Six Sideways, YOLO Real Timing, Crownfield, Aster Sim Race, and Army Centrum. And of course, RaceSpot for putting on a great broadcast. And Steven and the executive team at SOR for putting on this series.
Thank you very much for the time, Marco. Congratulations on the victory.
Thank you.
That was Marco Mogren coming out on top for this one for the victory today in round number 3. Finishing off in second, he had 2 straight victories, was Bobby Zalenski, and Paul Smith is with him right now. Paul?
Yeah, thank you very much, Justin. Bobby, well, it's the 3rd round, and it's the first time we've not seen you in the winner's circle. Just tell us about that. The first stint, first part of the race, you were under intense pressure from Marco Mogren before you went into the pits. Just talk us through that. How difficult was it to keep him behind there in that first stint?
Yeah, you definitely couldn't make any mistakes with him behind you. Yeah, so that first run was a lot of fun, just being within about 5 to 7 tenths of me. I got it to like a second, and then I made a mistake, and I went back to 8 tenths, and then I pit. And but yeah, I knew he was going to be really quick by his practice times, and I knew it'd be a tough race. Thankfully, we were able to get a really good lap in qualifying to get the pole. But yeah, he was definitely really fast today.
Well, we're going to talk about the elephant in the room, which was that pit stop and the exit. I mean, you came in a lap earlier to start with. Was that always the plan to come in around about that time, or was it that the tyres were just feeling like they were fading away a bit too much with the hot conditions today on track?
I felt like I had better tires than him right there, but I didn't want to get, undercut and be having to pass him. So I was just like, well, I'll simply just pit a lap early of him, or the same lap as him, and then I don't have to worry about that, and I'll just have to worry about defending at the end. That would have worked if I didn't totally miss the pit exit and go flying into the grass and lose 5 seconds, but, what are you going to do? These things happen, it's racing, it's all my fault, and, we have to get over it.
And then we saw you with a tremendous battle with Eric Blitz coming up behind you as well. But second place, though, still get a really good position for the championship looking forward. It's a long old championship, this. We're only in round 3 of 12. So the first part of this championship certainly has gone well for you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, second's not bad at all. Obviously, we were in position to win, so that's why it stings that we, made that mistake and didn't win. And I got tougher there at the end because not only are you on a lap older tires, which is quite significant in the NASCAR vehicles and the trucks or whatever, so I had, a guy right behind me on a lap newer tires that I had to defend. It was pretty tough, yeah. And there's no way I was gonna catch Marco because like a 2.5 second gap and fresher tires, so I was just like, I'll try to hold on for a second here, but yeah, second's still great. Obviously, want to try to win every race you can, especially when you're in a great position too. But you make mistakes, and that's just what happens.
Well, before we let you go, sponsors, friends, family, who gets it done for you?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks to sponsors on the truck for this SOR Super Truck League, virtual to reality TV, and Payday GG. Obviously, thank my sponsor, Virtual Racing School, also on the B Post. Thanks everyone for showing up today. It's always fun to do this series. I mean, there's no series like it. It's very unique. The trucks on road courses. I mean, it's like I've always wanted a league like this, and I was really happy to see one existed last year and when I joined. So, thanks to all of them. And shout out to everyone at Race Spot, and shout out to Marco on winning. He had great pace.
Well, thanks a lot for joining us, Bobby. Second place. Still championship lead, though. Well done, mate.
Yep, thank you.
Back to you then, Justin.
Yeah, definitely somebody that is going to, of course, want to try and continue to try and do the best he can. See if he can bounce back for next week for sure. But now joining us in the broadcast booth is the driver who finished in third spot, who also had a decent pace and was battling with Zelensky for the second spot after that one mistake on the pit exit. Eric Blixt. Eric, I should say, how are you feeling coming out of this one in the third spot tonight?
Yeah, it was pretty good coming out in third because we had some setup insecurities before the race on what setup we should run. But we ended up picking a setup that was good in the long run, and that seemed to work out pretty good for us.
And what made that longer run setup the one you preferred to run for tonight? Was it, of course, obviously the long run, but was it something with handling? Was it the drop-off, if that makes sense?
Yeah, the drop-off was very stable during practice. So it was a very stable setup, even though it wasn't very quick. And I did miss a little bit of an edge on new tires. But over the long run, it was very good, very stable.
Yeah, it definitely looked like it was pretty stable, that's for sure. Some of the trucks, to be frank, were sliding around like they were on an ice skating rink at times, that's for sure. But of course, with you talk about that battle, the battling you had for the second spot after running basically on your own, so to speak, in terms of on the track for much of that first stint. When you had that battle going on with Bobby Zelensky, what was going through your head, and what were you trying to do to try and get yourself up to second rather than third?
Yeah, I was basically just staying behind Bobby, hoping for a mistake. He was being pretty shaky sometimes, so I was hoping for him to do a mistake and take advantage of it, but still keeping close the whole time.
Yeah, it looked like you were trying to position yourself for that, and did have one possible opportunity, a couple different possible opportunities, I should say. Hey, in your opinion, I don't even know how to exactly phrase this with this, but basically, on your opinion with this, is if you could find a way to get on by, do you think you would have been able to pull away from Zelensky, if that makes sense, or would it have been like a side-by-side in terms of how you felt your setup was compared to Zelensky's?
Definitely in the end, I think I had an edge, but I bet Bobby would stick onto my back and keep hunting me down until the finish, that's for sure. But if I got the opportunity, I would have taken it, absolutely.
Indeed, that's for sure. Just needed me. You looked like you were just moments away from getting something position, but just did not get that perfect opportunity in that final lap. But before I let you go, anyone you want to thank, any sponsors, anyone specifically, cats, dogs, anything like that?
Not that I can think of, actually. I can thank Stocks Out Racing for hosting this amazing championship. It's really fun.
You don't have any sponsors to thank, pardon me? Or your teammates to help out with the setup with all that?
Yeah, I can thank Marty and Caval for helping me the other day, testing out the setup a little bit.
Thank you very much for the time, Eric. We let you go. Congratulations on third place.
Thank you.
And that was Eric coming off with the third spot, I should say. But first things first, let's talk about something before we go to our next two interviews. With the next two interviews, of course, we have one of the main awards. We mentioned this in part during the broadcast, where there is the Hard Charger Award, which with each round, iAnalyze gives a 1 month subscription to the Hard Charger of the race. Fans will get the chance to pick between two non-podium drivers who are not subject to penalty. That means fourth on back with that, as well as someone that does not have corrected action, etc., etc. With that situation, of course, there were two different categories with that. The biggest mover and the most exciting. Those two drivers today were Clampett and Kapal. We're going to start off with your biggest mover for today, Logan Clampett. As Logan Clampett's going to join us in the broadcast booth, Paul Smith will be with him right now. Paul?
Yeah, thank you very much, Logan Clampett. You're a late arrival to the race today. You didn't apparently you had to fly in, so thanks a lot for joining us here. But starting at the back there, work your way through the field. Just talk us through that race from your point of view.
Yeah, I didn't think I was going to make the race today, so I said I couldn't make it, so obviously I had to start in the back. Which sucks. Before this race, I haven't turned a single lap at Phillip Island on the service, so that was interesting. So I practiced for about 20 minutes or so before the race, and I was a little bit sloppy the first run and started to get it down after maybe like lap 5 or something. I was as fast as the leaders, and my tires wore out, and I was getting through the field. I was up to around 7th, and then the 84 spun his tires there off like the 3rd to last corner and spun me, so I had to work back through the field again and ended up 6th, almost 5th. I was trying really hard to get around the 46th last lap. I was trying to bump him, move him, whatever. But yeah, it was a fun race. I really had it down that second run. I was paying attention, and I was, I think, like a couple tenths faster than the leader a few laps. So I really picked up the pace throughout the race. So I was really hoping for a top 5, but starting from the back and finishing 6th right behind 5th isn't too bad after getting turned also.
Absolutely, and of course we saw you basically out of control across the finish line there. It just goes to show how hard you were pushing on that last lap.
Yeah, I was pushing the last 2 laps actually. I drove the 46 a little clean with 2 to go, and then I was kind of just like, oh, it's time to go, and yeah, I threw it in the last corner there just to see if I could scare him, and I couldn't, and then just kind of lost it.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, Logan. You're the biggest mover in the field, so you're in the fan vote for the Hard Charger Award. So best of luck with that, and thanks for joining us in the commentary booth.
Thank you, Paul.
Okay, Justin, and I believe you're going to have Martin Capal with you now.
Yes, Martin Capal now joining us in the broadcast booth. Of course, there's the two categories. He was someone that had some exciting battles, that's for sure, on the track in the number 64 truck. He joins us now. Martin, how are you feeling right now?
Pretty much disappointed, to be honest. I had a decent start into turn 1, and then I went off in turn 2. I lost a couple of positions there, so I had to catch up. And then, in the second half of the race, I was side by side with Clampett into the fast left-hander and then went off again. So, yeah, I could have done a little bit better, but still decent finishing position anyway.
Still decent finishing position, but of course, it takes a lot of skill to get yourself back up to the position and actually gain a spot on top of that as well. So, talk us through how you basically had to get yourself together to recompose yourself and get those positions back, as you said, a couple times.
Actually, I was lucky like twice with the traffic in front of me, because a couple of people spun and I didn't have to fight that much. But I had some decent battles with Daniel Thompson and Wade. We were pretty close racing there.
And how was it to basically try and make sure you were having the best spot possible with that? Because it definitely was close racing there. What was your strategy basically to try and keep them behind you, so to speak?
Just look after the tires at braking and just be clean overall. I mean, that's and be smooth. That's the key thing here, I think.
I have to definitely agree with you on that, of course. Or with this, of course, this is, of course, just round 3, just wrapping up here. Basically, what are you hoping to take from this race into next week? Into the next couple weeks, I should say, for round number 4 onward.
I mean, in general, in these cars, it's very difficult to be smooth. I mean, it's very easy to, overdrive the car. So into the next round, I'll be more careful into the corners, under braking, and just overall be smoother. I'll try my best.
Is there anyone you want to thank before we let you go?
Just thanks to Eric, who I had fun with during practice sessions, and he had a decent result today, so congratulations to him as well, and thanks everyone who made this possible.
Thank you very much, Martin.
Okay, thanks.
That was the number 64, as may not be feeling excited now, but of course, one of the 2 nominees for the Hard Charger Award, so he might have some excitement after the 24 hours fan vote that you can see through Socks Out Racing for tonight for the V8 SuperTrucks Championship from the Phillip Island Circuit. Definitely some exciting racing, that's for sure. Any final words from you before we let you go? Before we go?
Yeah, well, what an event! What a race! Hard fighting, hard racing, a mistake from the championship leader, a different race winner in this one. It's shaping up to be a fantastic season. Of course, next time out, we're at Twin Ring Motegi. That'll be on the 21st of April, so you'll make sure you can check that one out, because that's going to be some fantastic racing for that one. But yeah, this series just keeps on giving, and Socks Out Racing, what can I say? It's one of my favourite series to cover, and I can't wait until the next one.
I can't wait either myself, but right now, it's time to say goodbye for the night. Here from RaceBot TV and iRacing Live, commentary tonight was brought to you by myself, Justin Prince, as well as Paul Smith, who is also doing your camera work tonight. TV cameras were provided by Esteban Balgrove from TrackCams22.com. Be sure to check that out. Andres Warner was your overlay designer. Development was by Simon Grossman, and Nick Theismann provides RaceBot TV's live timing and scoring for events. But from here tonight, for the Sox Out Racing V8 Super Trucks Championship, and for tonight's action here on RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live, I'm Justin Prince for Paul Smith, saying good night and so long from Australia. We'll see you in a couple weeks from Twin Ring Motegi in Japan.